Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. Today we're talking about a fic called The Book of Peace. Details about the fic will be in the description below. This, I'm not gonna lie, this is gonna be like a really short video. Like probably like shorter than what was it? Roderick, the drummer's girl, that's what it was. Cause there's not much to it. I mean there is, but it's like I don't know how to describe it. It's like even when I was reading it, I'm like, I flew through it really fast. I'm like, wow, this seemed really short. And even like rewatching like the movie, and I'm like, oh my god, this is kind of short. Like, you know, um, this is like a really old fic, right? I mean, if you go to it, it won't say like, the date. It won't say it's old, but it is okay. The person they had their account deleted, and now they're just kind of like re-uploading all their old works and reworking, and remaking their fics. And this is the same author that did the was it I'm Still Here? Is that what it's called? Oh god, I can't remember anymore. The Treasure Planet fic, right? And that one, I think that's just because there was more. Because even the person who was writing it in their little author's note, they're like, I thought I'd get more chapters out of this. There's like not much to it, and I like, don't get me wrong, I love Sinbad, right? And like I love the movie. Oh my god, is it really fast? I'm like, oh, like you blink, it's over. Oh, okay, right? I think because, like, because like with Treasure Planet, it's like I don't want to say like, oh, it's not as predictable, but like it is like not as predictable, if that makes sense, right? Very formulaic is like Sinbad, right? Versus Treasure Planet, where it's like, and that's why they were able to get like more chapters out of it because you could fit more of it in, and so much is happening in Treasure Planet in a good way, I should say, in a very good way, right? Versus I don't think there's a lot of room to really work with in Sinbad, right? But this is where reader, us, of course, sister, right, little sister of Proteus, right? So Princess Fantastic, right? So the movie already starts out, because I was supposed to say kaiju. I mean, whatever. It's sea monster, right? Fighting the sea monster. He's reunites with Proteus. He's trying to rob to get the Book of Peace for ransom. Which, I mean, okay, if you really think about it, that was his entire plan. Is like in the movie is like he's gonna rob to get the Book of Peace, right? And then he's like, oh, like even though like Proteus explains to him like it keeps us all safe. It's like, yeah, think how much everyone pay to get it back. It's like, okay, but if it keeps you all safe, like it doesn't really like explore all that much, okay? But like if it keeps you all safe, I I feel like because I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, but if you close it and like long enough, I think people would they just start dying or something? I don't know. Like it's not like fully explored or anything, but I'm like, who's gonna be left to pay their ransom? Is where my head immediately went to. But he fails because sea monster attacks, whatever. He meets Ares, and that's where the whole bargain is kind of struck, right? You get the Book of Peace for her, and he'll be set for life. I don't know why you trust her. She's a goddess, which yes, like oh, they don't care about money. What I mean, I guess maybe that's why it's like oh, so she would just give it to me, but like, sir, you suffer right now. But so now Proteus is off having a little party now, and of course Sinbad crashes it, and this is like the first glimpse that we really get of the dynamic, right? Because they had said it before, where the three of them were childhood friends, and then kind of Sinbad just disappeared one day, right? And that's when this is like the first time like he moves in, to the party. Proteus is kind of the only one excited to see him. I mean, makes sense, right? And that's where he sees Reader, right? And then Alfie, who is her fiance, right? immediately he's like, oh, right? It's soured, right? Because he was all for like seeing her, right? How, um, and reuniting her, and we see that Reader isn't really, the classic like, oh, she's not completely there to be a princess. Like she's not rebellious or anything, but she is like when Proteus first made it home, he was a little late, and his sister wasn't there yet for like the meeting because she was off riding a horse, right? She was off doing really anything that would just bring excitement to her, right? So, like when he first sees her at the party, right? This is the first time he's seen her in years, and how, truly like beautiful she looks now, right? Because when they last saw, like, what, you were teenagers or something, right? And now again as adults. But then he sees Alfie, right? And it's like, ooh, immediately sour the mood. And he like disappears, right? Because he's leaving. He immediately leaves, right? And so, the others are kind of like questioning him. It's like, oh, it's like, no, back to the ship, we're done, right? He's over it. He's immediately like, no. He wants no part of it. While he's leaving, Ares is basically up to no good, right? She makes a shadow version of Sinbad, knocks out a guard, drops his knife there to like leave as evidence of him doing it, and then steals the Book of Peace. Of course, they arrest Sinbad, and he's, approached like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, I didn't do any of this, for once, telling the truth. But, Proteus is looking at him like, why do any of this? But then, he holds up his knife, which is his knife that Ares had left behind. There's so much like against him, so when it's not really even a court, it's like literally just them asking like, hey, okay, like give up the Book of Peace. He's like, I don't have it. It's like, okay, I guess we'll send you to death then. Okay. And of course Proteus jumps in, he offers his own life, right? He's a thief, so he's like, okay, well, he'll steal the book and he'll bring it back within 10 days. And if he doesn't, then he's basically on the hook, right? He's taking Sinbad's place. And if he doesn't come back, then it's his death. And of course, literally, like they, like, his father, Reader, Marina, and Alfie, right? They don't want him to do this, but he can't really be talked out of it, right? Which then leads, obviously, when Sinbad, like, now we're back on the ship, Sinbad's like, no, you're crazy. We're not doing any of that. We're not going to Tartarus. We're not getting anything. We're leaving. And we're going to Fiji, somewhere else, right? And that's when he goes to, his room. And that's where he finds, Marina and Reader, right? They're all there. And they're both there. And they're kind of, like, looking around at some things. And he's like, oh, God. This isn't real, right? There's no way. Of course it is, right? So he sees them and like he, questions like, what are you exactly doing here, right? It's like, oh, we're here basically to force you, right? You're not escaping this. You're going to Tartarus to get that book back, right? Because, he put his life on the line for you. You can't just walk away from that. And, with some bribes, as in some jewels, which she hands to him, right? That's when, he's like, okay, fine, I guess we could. And then he throws Marina in like, that's like the food storage basically, because Spike is also there. So it's like, it's like, oh, but only you get to that. It's like, oh, first class. It's like first class Reader. Like we see that Reader has like a very that he clearly has like a soft spot even after all these years, right? I mean, we've seen it as soon as like they're at the party, introduced or reintroduced, really, old times. It was fun until Alfie came out. It's like, oh, this is my fiance. It's like, no longer fun anymore. No longer fun. So now they're setting sail, and of course, another person they run into is the sirens, which she gets Marina out of the, I suppose, closet, whatever. She gets Marina out of the cupboard. And then the sirens happen. Everyone's immediately under spell. Fantastic. I do kind of like their take on the sirens. Just water, right? It's like water. It's like they're like they're women, but they're like, and they sing, right? So like immediately under control, but they're made up of completely water, right? And you could easily just like, I guess, put your hand through it or whatever, because we see that, right? Where now it's up to them to, oh, and Spike, of course, right, to get them out of the situation because they're all useless now. Fantastic. So now they're you know, they basically have to tie everyone up. And the whole accidental kiss scene happens. And for like 5 seconds, right? Because he's about to go underwater and she's like, no, 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 right? Then the ship rocks and she accidentally falls into him. And then for like that split second, he does snap out of it, but like is still like dazed and confused. He's like, what's happening? He's like, oh, thank God you're back. Doesn't matter anymore because sirens are singing and he's immediately gone. It's like, you know what? Never mind. He's completely useless. And so it's them three, like, right, they end up saving everyone. And that kind of gains respect to the crew. So they're like, okay, right? Even though the ship is like damaged, not our fault though. Like they did save them, right? And of course now everyone's looking at Sinbad. It's like, because he's nitpicking. It's like, oh, he's like, oh, we scratched the paint, like, oh, this is ruined, this blah blah. It's like, oh my God, you can't even say thank you. You're such a dick, right? And so, you know, they briefly go back and forth yelling, and it's very clear it just becomes banter to both him and the reader, right? Like it's not even really all that serious. It just becomes banter at that point because she knows, you know, what he means, even though he just can't say it outright of like, thank you, right? So they kind of walk away from that kind of fine. And they make it to the fish island, right? Because they need repair and need to gather some wood, right? He's not happy about it, right? Because again, his precious ship damaged, right? So now they gotta cut some trees down. Reader immediately leaves the ship, and he's like, no, 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 what are you doing? Don't do that. Like, he's like, don't do that. I like how Kale the entire time throughout this entire thing he immediately like he sees through Sinbad, right? Like as soon as they left the party, he was like, oh, what's wrong? It's like, nothing's wrong. And then he looks back and sees her. It's like, oh yeah, okay, sure, nothing's wrong. And then even when he's leaving the ship, he asks her like, okay, just stay on the ship, right? Because he's running after her. It's like, all right, just, you know, he's like, oh, if and they have to see a produce, you know, the king will have my head. It's like, yeah, I mean, I'm long dead, but okay. So, and this is where the whole argument ensues, right? Where, you know, Sinbad can't ever just be, you know, because it's first him and Marina. They start going at it, right? And of course, he has to bring up Alfie, right? And he's like, because he's arguing with her. It's like, oh, like, I'm the first woman you've ever seen. It's like, oh, I've seen them and, you know, you hang around with, right? It's like Alfie, like as if he is. And of course, despite her and Alfie, and like they've talked about this, right? Because, you know, when Sinbad had left the party, it was just him, it was Alfie and her, and they had talked, right? And, you know, he had seen the way, you know, with Sinbad, it's like and everything, right? So he had saw it immediately, even though she tried denying it in the beginning, but like, no, really, Yu's doing it. And it's an arranged marriage between them. They don't really love each other. I mean, romantically, they care for each other, right? And they really do love each other, just not in a romantic sense, right? And so, you know, that's why he says like, oh, if your heart, you know, lies elsewhere, you should follow it, right? So he's very like a big supporter of her, right? And so even though, when Sinbad makes these insults towards Ulfi, like, you know, she gets mad. So she ends up, you know, throwing a bucket of sap at him because, like, you know, it's like for him to insult Ulfi like that. And of course he gets upset because it's like, you know, that she even did that and then like over Alfie, you know, and so he starts arguing back and forth both of them, and this is it gets real for a second. Cause she's like, at least, you know, because she talks about like how he abandoned them. Cause she really does feel like it was so out of nowhere and out of the blue. You know, he didn't say anything, just gone the next day, right? And so she really does like yell. It's like, oh, how, you know, at least, you know, he doesn't abandon, you know, his friends. It's like, ooh, we got real personal for a second. They're fighting. They mix up the fish that they're on because she ends up ripping off his scale basically, and So they run and they make it to the boat. She had thrown off her shoe during the fight, right? And he immediately, like, Sinbad picks that up as he's running and, like, picks her up too, because she's like, I mean, imagine you would hop. I mean, we got one shoe on, right? So he carries her, like, to the ship, and they make it there. And then they attach it, to the fish because he's diving. And it's like, oh, wait, they only have like a certain amount of days, so this will get there faster. And then after a while, can't do it anymore. They end up cutting the line. And then that's when the snowbird, right? Because Ares, I don't even know if she's trying to stop him at that point. She's just like making it harder. And if like they happen to die on the way, then like, I don't even think, I don't know, but that's when the whole snowbird happens, right? So now it's suddenly really cold, right? And there's ice and there's snow. And everyone puts on, warmer clothes, except Kale, of course. He puts on a scarf. That's good enough for him. He doesn't need a shirt. That's it, okay? And Sinbad gets like 2 coats, right? He drops one, like he just throws one at Marina, and then he gives one of his other oversized coats and gloves to Rita, right? Very gently, obviously, because of course he does. And then Rita ends up getting captured by the bird because, she's pulling them out of the water, right? Because one of them had fallen in, pulling them out of the water, and then Marina was in the way, so she pushes her out of the way and then tries to make it, but doesn't end up making it herself, so ends up captured. So now he's like, oh god. It's like she's gone, right? And he tried to grab her, but all he got was her glove. It's like, oh god. And so now he's like, okay, need a plan. He doesn't come up with one, but like he knows he has to move quick, right? So he ends up getting to the top of the mountain, and he ends up getting there to her. Still doesn't have a plan, right? And then she's she's kind of shocked. I mean, like, because they spent so long apart, the fight, and then just like a lot's happened where she didn't think he would care this much anymore, right? Because years apart and everything kind of happening, and I guess this is technically would be like forced circumstance to be together, but but of course he cares, right? So after like a brief little scuffle, they end up getting down, make it back safely to the boat, and now they're back on, set sail for Tartarus again. In the in-between, we do get how, because she, just before they get to the gates of Tartarus, she does, like, 'cause she has to know, right? She has to know why he just suddenly left. And, that's when he was always very aware that, she's the princess, Proteus prince, everything, right? And he never really cared, right? About any of that, of him basically kind of being like a street rat, right? But he became more aware of it when they were, teenagers, right? And then that's when, he describes it as like, oh, a ship with your future appeared on it, appeared. It's like, what does that even mean? He means Ulfi, right? Ulfi had come that day, and like that was supposed to be like, that's her future fiance. It's like, and so that's why next day, without saying a word, he just, because it never bothered him, he never cared, but he was reminded of, she's a princess, she will be married to someone else, someone that isn't him. And they're about to kiss. They don't, because it's too early for that. But also they arrive now at the gates, Tartarus. Then they go in, right? Sinbad goes in. She's like, I'm not leaving you alone. So they end up both go in. They meet Ares. Then we learn like, okay, this was the entire plan the entire time, right? Where she had framed Sinbad, but not because she wanted Sinbad like, dead or anything. She wanted Proteus, and then, once, because he's the heir, once he's dead, chaos, blah, blah, whatever, right? That was her entire plan, because she knew he would take his place. And she was betting on, like, him just running away and not really doing it. And then, Rita steps in, like, he's not like that, he was, gonna go, he was to, sail to get the book and everything. Just took a little prompting, which, don't say anything. Don't defend him. Don't. Not helping, right? And so that's when she strikes a deal, right? She's like, okay, you get the book of peace if you answer the, question truthfully, right? And she swears, on her name as a goddess, right? So bound for eternity, can't break that. That if he answers truthfully, he'll get the book of peace. Being, if he fails to get it, would he still go back? Of course he would. He looks back at, her for a second and it's like, I would go back, right? And then, Eris like, oh, you're lying, whatever. Now they fall. So book of peace is lost. And I'm like, oh, shit. And they have like a really sad moment where, because that really does get to him. He's like, and he's like, I thought I was, telling the truth, everything. And she's like, no, Rita's like, no, you are telling the truth. She's like, okay, she tries to come up with a compromise basically of like, okay, because no one deserves to die just because she basically orchestrated this entire thing and, can't really do anything with her. So like, okay, you run away, me or you return, we'll figure something out, like we'll do something. It's like, no, I can't do that, right? He's like, I gotta face this, right? It's like, and she's like, I love you too much to that you do this. Like you would you love someone who would just run away, right? And leave her brother die? Probably not. And so they obviously end up returning just in time to Proteus getting a little closer time. And, it's revealed, like, he tried his best, doesn't have it. Proteus looks at him like, oh my god, like it's, yeah, he's going to die. And like, he's pretty okay with that, right? But surprise, it doesn't happen, because like it shatters immediately, because this was still part of the test, right? Obviously, so Ares comes out like, and she's upset because he ruined it, right? Because this was still part of the test, and he answered truthfully, and because he did return, he is here. He was willing to just lay down his life for his friend, and because she's bound for all eternity, she has to give the book back. So, yay! Like, so now we have the book back, right? And peace is restored, right? And they're like, oh, you could have one of my adventures party. And that's when, Sinbad looks at her, Ulfi and Rita, and like, no. He's like, oh, I have to, set sail, clear sky, everything, seems calm. Like, it's, because he can't bear to kind of stay and watch this, right? And meanwhile, Ulfi and like Rita, when, Ulfi, again, we're back here, and just like, oh, you fell in love with him. He already knew, right? He knew from day one anyway. And he encouraged her. Follow your heart, go after him. Like, this is the person that you really love. You reunited with him. You fell in love with him all over again, right? It's like, go after him. And, she does, but, she's like, oh, what about you, right? Because she doesn't want to, like, just leave Ulfi, It's like, oh, no, it's fine. My heart's with a woman named Lunetta. It's like, okay, great. So we're both going to get a happy ending then. Fantastic, right? So she ends up chasing after him. And he's all kind of sad about it, right? Because they're thinking, like, it's a little somber mood for the crew. He's all sad. It's like he's leaving once again. And this time he's like, probably won't see her ever again. Or like next time he sees her, she'll be married, have kids. And then immediately, like, a bundle of rope is dropped on him. He thinks it's Rat, and it's like, but he's opposite side. And then she's up there. And he couldn't have been, more happy that she decided to come, to choose him, basically. And that he, was worth it. And then they kiss, and then Spike end up, interrupting it. And they live happily ever after, sailing the seas and doing who knows what, and what sort of adventures. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye!